Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Damiano B. Centola. Welcome to I Choose the Call. What if the greatest danger in your life is not what attacks you from the outside, but what was planted in you so quietly you learned to call it your own? What if many of your desires were not born in freedom, but shaped over time by a system that knew exactly how to train your hunger? Most people think control begins when someone tells you what to do, but that is not where it starts. Control becomes far more powerful when it teaches you what to want, what to chase, what to admire, what to envy, what to fear losing, what to build your identity around. Because once your desires are shaped, your decisions become easier to predict. And once your cravings are trained, your life can be guided without force. That is how the system works. It does not always stand over you with pressure. Sometimes it stands around you with images, suggestions, influences, comparisons, pleasure, approval, noise, and over the time, the soul starts reaching for things it was never designed to live on. That is why so many people are restless. Not because they have nothing, but because what they have cannot satisfy what is eternal in them. They keep reaching, keep consuming, keep achieving, keep upgrading, keep scrolling, keep comparing, keep performing, and still something is missing. Something remains unsettled. Something refuses to be fed by what the world keeps offering. That is not weakness. That is signal. Because the soul knows when it is being starved, while the flesh is being entertained. The system does not need to ruin you overnight. It only needs to redirect your path, your appetite, away just enough from depth toward distraction, away from truth toward comfort, away from God toward self, away from conviction toward convenience, away from eternal things toward temporary cravings. Because once desire is redirected, life starts drifting. And drifting is dangerous. because it feels harmless at first. No alarm, no sudden collapse, just a slow adjustment of what matters to you. A slow weakening of what once troubled your conscience. A slow normalization of what once felt wrong. That is how people change without realizing they are changing. That is how hearts grow dull. That is how discernment fades. That is how truth becomes negotiable. That is how bondage puts on the language of freedom. People begin saying, "This is just who I am. This is just modern life. This is just the word. This is just how the world is now. This is just normal." But normal is not always healthy. And common is not always true. And popular is not always safe. Sometimes what is normal is the very thing that is deforming the human soul. And when a whole culture shares the same distorted appetite, deception becomes harder to detect. Because now the crowd confirms it. So it must be true. The culture rewards it. Must be right. The system sells it. Entertainment celebrates it. And the soul is told to stop resisting what is slowly weakening it. That is why so many people protect the very pattern that is draining them. Because what repeatedly feeds you eventually starts feeling like part of you. Even when it is harming you. Even when it is hollowing you out. That is why spiritual awakening is not just about seeing differently. It is also about desiring differently. Because you cannot walk in freedom while still craving what keeps you bound. You cannot live clearly while loving what keeps you numb. You cannot hear God deeply while training your inner life to feed on noise. And that is the battle. Not just behavior, desire. Not just action, appetite. Not just what you do, what you long for when nobody is watching. That is where much of life is decided. In the unseen places. In the repeated choices. In the private agreements. In the unchecked cravings. That is why the system works so hard to occupy your imagination. Because attention becomes appetite. And appetite becomes direction. And direction, it becomes destiny. So if the system can shape what you admire, it can shape what you pursue. If it can shape what you fear, it can shape what you obey. If it can shape what you call success, it can shape what you sacrifice your life for. That is spiritual warfare at the level of desire. And many people never even realize the battle is happening. They think they are choosing freely, but they are choosing from desires that were already trained. So stop and ask, what have I been taught to hunger for? What keeps pulling my attention? What do I keep returning to for comfort? What do I protect even when I know it leaves me empty? What have I called freedom that may actually be dependency? What have I called identity that may actually be conditioning? Those are hard questions. But honest questions break deception. Because once you begin to see clearly, you also begin to choose more carefully. You begin to notice what feeds peace and what feeds confusion. What strengthens conscience and what dulls it. What leads you toward God and what keeps replacing Him with substitutes. And that is where real freedom begins. Not when the world changes first, when your inner life stops arguing with what is shaping it. So the deeper question is this: who trained your desires? Who formed your appetite? Who taught your soul what to run after? And if you can never question that, you may wake up. And if you never question that, you may wake up one day and realize you spent your strength serving a hunger that was never worthy of you. Wake up, people. That's why I'm here. Sending the warning. So if this message spoke to you, stay with me. Subscribe to I Choose the Call. Turn on the notifications so you will be reminded when the next video goes live. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And like I always say, stay in prayer, stay in faith, and stay close to God. Ciao for now.
I choose the call. I choose the call. I choose the